Simon P. Sports presents championship drag racing from the National Hot Rod Association, the Big Bud Shootout. Featuring a showdown between 8 of the finest fiberglass-bodied funny cars, driven by 8 of the best drivers in the world. They thread the needle through the quarter mile at speeds topping 260 miles an hour with elapsed times of less than 6 seconds. Welcome to Indianapolis Raceway Park in Indianapolis, Indiana, the largest drag racing facility in the world for the richest drag race in the world, the 3rd annual Big Bud Shootout. It was at the first shootout that Frank Hawley, soon to become world champion and driver of the famed Chi-Town Hustler, defeated one of the true legends of this sport when in the far lane he outran Don Prudhomme for victory. Last year saw Kenny Bernstein, a last-minute qualifier, totally dominate the event, finally subduing Al Segrini for the championship and securing the $25,000 first prize. Again this year, the 8 fastest funny cars in the world, determined through season-long qualifying, will meet to contest for the lion's share of the over $40,000 purse. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClellan, and this is the Chi-Town Hustler, sporting a brand new paint job. You know, this is a fiberglass replica of a Dodge Daytona body, and to the racer, the beauty goes more than skin deep. Steve Evans can tell us about it.
Dave, you take the funny car out of its plastic wrapper, as we have done with Billy Meyer's machine, and you discover an animal of a race car. Let's take a tour from front to back. The first thing you'll discover is the chrome weight bar. Now, that is filled with lead shot to help keep the front end down under varying track conditions. Also mounted forward for ballast is the fuel tank. It holds 14 gallons, about 11 of which are used on each run. Appropriately enough, on either side of the fuel tank are the mandatory onboard fire extinguishers. Now, there really is no front suspension on Billy's car. It's solid. On some, you'll find a rocker arm style independent front suspension. Here we have a pair of heavy-duty oil filters, and then we move to the meat of the matter. A fuel-injected, supercharged aluminum Hemi racing engine. No one's really sure how much horsepower they put out because there's not a dyno in the world capable of measuring it. Let's call it 3,000. They do. The exhaust headers really do more than just exhaust. They also furnish some necessary downforce for traction. Moving back to the cockpit area, it's pretty simple as far as race cars go. Billy has a handbrake. Attached to that is the fuel shutoff lever. This lever activates the fire bottles if necessary. This is a shifter. He only moves it once, low to high, about half track. This is the reverser, used only when he backs up after the burnout. And this particular lever and this one are fuel mixture controls. He can richen or lean the motor from the cockpit. Not much upholstery because with a 5-layer fire suit, you're pretty well wearing the necessary padding. The tires are limited to 17 inches across, 114 inches around. This particular little aluminum tank here is really just a breather tank. It collects any oil being blown out of the motor and keeps it off the racetrack. The wheelie bars here are also mandatory. Without them, cars have been known to flip over backwards. I had a chance to talk to some of the racers involved in today's Big Bud Shootout. I asked them if there was a car that they particularly feared. Here's what they said.
I'd have to go with Mark Oswald. It's momentum right now. The car the last month has just been flying. And in fact, he beat us. We run our second quickest run ever a few weeks ago, and he just flat out run us on that in that race. So I'd have to go with Mark Oswald, but in this Big Bud Shootout, everyone's tough.
Well, right now I would have to say it's Mark Oswald and the Candies and Hughes car. They've been running extremely well in the last 60 days. They've picked the pace up and passed all of us. So I would have to say, except for ourselves, which we would always say, they would be the main one.
Well, I don't know. I think there's one car right now that could be a little ahead. The Candies and Hughes car may be a taste, but not much. We're going to chase him down, I hope, but otherwise it's a toss-up.
This is Mark Oswald, the driver they're all talking about, the driver of the dreaded Candies and Hughes car from the bayous of Louisiana. Mark, you seem to be enjoying a bit of an intimidation factor here.
Yeah, right now we are, but when the car runs that good, it's also right on the borderline of going down the racetrack, and it's real hard to keep it that way. We got guys like Frank Hawley yesterday who showed real consistency, and, the car really ran good, so it's not as much an advantage as you might think.
Mark Oswald, the strong favorite and number 1 qualifier going into the first round of the Big Bud Shootout. Understand that these drivers have been going through a qualifying procedure throughout the entire year. Based upon their qualifying position at NHRA national events, they earned the points that gave them the right to compete in this $44,000 Big Bud Shootout. In NHRA style racing, the number 1 qualifier races number 5. Number 2 races number 6. Number 3 races number 7. And here, our first pair of cars, we find Tim Gross, who ended up the number 4 qualifier with 1,210 points, racing the number 8 qualifier. That is Tom McEwen. He qualified number 8, just barely making it into the field with 1,070 points. To give you an idea of how close the field is, only 270 points separated Tom McEwen from Mark Oswald, the number 1 qualifier. And there's the reason why the qualifying was so close. Look at this race. Tom McEwen in the far lane, just barely pulling ahead of Tim Gross at the finish. His elapsed time, 5.89 seconds. His speed at the finish line, 254 miles an hour. Side by side, both cars launch off the starting line as if they are one. From a standing start, they cover 1,320 feet down this racing surface. Tom McEwen and Tim Gross each struggling to get ahead of the other as the broad yellow stripe in the center indicates the finish line, and it is Tom McEwen the winner. From Fountain Valley, California, Tom McEwen advancing into the semifinals of the Big Bud Shootout. Back at Indianapolis Raceway Park in the first round, racing in the Big Bud Shootout. The dramatic burnout by Billy Meyer in the near lane with his competitor Frank Hawley right behind him and coming out of the cloud of smoke. 2 years ago, it was Frank Hawley winning the inaugural Big Bud Shootout. He is currently the reigning world champion and this year qualified number 3. His competitor from Waco, Texas is Billy Meyer, and Billy qualified number 7.
Billy, you've got an opponent first round in the Big Bud Shootout that's famous for his consistency, Frank Hawley.
Yeah, they've been real consistent all year. Over the last 3 years, have been quite consistent. I guess our main thing here is that the consistency that they have had is about a 10th off of the pace we've been able to perform at this year, so hopefully it stays that way.
Billy Meyer's level of performance has been improving at practically every event this season. For Frank Hawley, his qualifying this year has been exceptionally good, thus his number 3 spot here in the Big Bud Shootout, but the level of consistency has fallen off somewhat in NHRA national event competition. But that doesn't appear to be the case in this race. Frank Hawley stretching his lead over Billy Meyer by 2 car lengths at the finish line. 5.81 seconds his elapsed time. His speed a fine 250 miles an hour. Frank Hawley, the first ever winner of the Big Bud Shootout, advancing into the semifinals. This is the man all of drag racing was talking about last year. In the course of 3 short weeks, Kenny Bernstein won 3 major NHRA national event titles, including the Big Bud Shootout, and in the process garnered over $100,000 in cash, a never-before accomplished feat in the sport of championship drag racing. He had his problems qualifying for last year's Big Bud Shootout. That's not the case this year. Kenny Bernstein, as the defending champion, comes in a very strong number 2 position. He is racing against Dale Puldy. Puldy qualified in the number 7 spot, but bear in mind all 8 cars are very closely bunched in this field. Let's go down to Steve with Frank Hawley.
Frank Hawley, who tasted victory in the inaugural Big Bud Shootout 2 years ago, that's 1 down.
Well, we were concerned about Billy, and we always just try and take it 1 round at a time. I think the car run pretty well. And just like a couple years ago, I don't even know who run the next round.
Is the track good enough where you can keep the pedal down all the way, the full quarter mile?
That run we did, but we had softened it up. When we had qualified, the track was a little loose. I had to lift a bit, but it did run very well. That time we softened it up, and maybe we softened it a little too much, but
581.
Maybe that's a little too much. We'll find out. We'll watch the rest of the competition.
Okay, Frank. Going into the semifinals is Chi-Town Hustler.
A very personable Frank Hawley waiting for his crew to come take him back to the pits to prepare for the semifinals. Kenny Bernstein in the near lane, by virtue of his qualifying position, has the lane choice, and he selects the lane nearest the camera. Bernstein, based in Dallas, Texas, one of those famed Texas Thunder nitro-burning funny cars. His competition comes from Granada Hills, California. His name is Dale Balde.
Dale, if you would tell me about the racetrack. It is famous for its elapsed times. Is it in that kind of condition for the Big Bud Shootout?
I believe it will be. There's a bit of rain coming and going right now, so that's going to kind of mess up everybody's tune-up a little bit. And we've been doing a little bit of testing here, and we've had our share of troubles on the track, and I think it's going to be a hit-and-miss deal right off the bat for us.
Both drivers concentrating on the start. And Kenny Bernstein with a very slight advantage, but at the middle of the course it appears Balde coming on. At the finish line it is Bernstein by just about a car length. 5.95 second elapsed time. His speed 247 miles an hour. Picking him up at the middle of the race course, you see Kenny Bernstein just slowly start to pull ahead. Dale Balde in the far lane making it a very close race. You see just how close. Only 0.02 of a second separating the two.
Kenny Bernstein's win streak continues in this Big Bud Shootout. 3 win lights last year in victory and 1 down now.
Well, that's the toughest one, Steve, the first round, and Dale Balde's a good competitor. I was plenty worried.
By 2 100th you won it.
Is that right? I knew it was going to be close. We spun the tires quite a bit. She was pretty loose.
It's tougher this year, I think, than it was last year.
Yeah, I think so. The cars are all good. They have been, but they're all running better this year, and they're all closer together, so it makes it tougher.
Okay, Kenny Bernstein, he goes into the semis.
The defending champion still in competition, maybe 2 years in a row. Bernstein paying recognition to the man he just defeated. Here's the man they're all talking about this year. This is the #1 qualifier. He is the man that everyone says is the car to beat. Mark Oswald driving for Candies and Hughes against the 3-time world champion, Raymond Beadle. Beadle has not had the most successful season of his career, while on the other hand, Mark Oswald has been ultimately successful both in qualifying, as is evidenced by his #1 spot, and in actual side-by-side competition. Driving for the team of Candies and Hughes, Mark Oswald, your favorite and #1 qualifier. For Raymond Beadle, the #5 qualifier but obvious underdog, you have to wonder what his strategy is.
Our car, I think, can run equally as well. They've run quicker than we have. The best our cars ever runs have been low 70s, 71 or 72, but we think the car's capable of running in the 60s, and one thing about it, you know where you stand, so you got to go for it first round.
So you're willing to burn a motor if you have to get by him?
Yeah, well, hopefully we won't have to burn it, but I mean, if that's what it takes, that's what we'll do.
Raymond Beadle may be outclassed on paper, but never conceding an inch to the #1 qualifier, Mark Oswald. Don't forget, there's 2 important considerations in every race you're watching. The first and most important is winning the race. The secondary consideration is the elapsed time, because the racer with the lower elapsed time of the pair in the next round has the lane choice, gets to run in the preferred lane that he selects. So keep that in mind in every race. The elapsed time, very important to these racers. Mark Oswald in the near lane. In the far lane, Raymond Beadle. What a start for Beadle. Oswald goes up in smoke, and it is Beadle pulling ahead. A tremendous run for Beadle, and what an upset. The man they feared most down to defeat the Blue Max crew, congratulating each other. Look at the elapsed time, 5.75 seconds. Beadle slowing the Blue Max car to a stop as the shroud line flailing in the air. We watch again as Beadle and Oswald move almost together off the starting line, but then things go sour for Mark Oswald. The tires losing traction. The smoke you see, that means they're spinning. But for Raymond Beadle, he just pulls ahead to the finish line and wins the race.
Well, for Mark Oswald, who, as you heard earlier, many of the drivers had picked to go all the way here, is out in this first round of competition as Raymond Beadle steps up with a shocking 5.75 elapsed time. Mark Oswald trying to remove that carbon fiber helmet, and unfortunately we won't see him smile too much. No one expected that from Raymond.
Well, he ran good. I think we could have run good. The car just moved to the center line instantly off the starting line. I had to fight it back, and it was just all over the racetrack.
Well, good job, Mark.
Thanks anyway, see.
What a shock for Mark Oswald, and even Steve Evans at a loss for words as the racers head back to the pits to get ready for the semifinals. Raymond Beadle against Frank Hawley, Kenny Bernstein against Tom McEwen at Indianapolis Raceway Park, the Big Bud Shootout. The semifinal action of the Big Bud Shootout at Indianapolis Raceway Park. It was 2 years ago that Frank Hawley won the top prize of the shootout. This year, he is now in the semifinals, but is in an underdog role as he has to race the man that has established the lowest elapsed time in competition, Raymond Beadle, driving the Blue Max. That stunning 5.75 second elapsed time in the first round as he upset the favorite Mark Oswald gives Beadle the control. He has the lane choice in this race against Hawley, and that can be all important. The lanes of this quarter-mile racetrack can actually change throughout the day. Thus, the lane choice for the driver can be one of the most important considerations that he has to face. The other is mechanical problems. For Frank Hawley, he had very little between rounds. But for Raymond Beadle, a different story.
Raymond, the Blue Max was trailing some oil on the return road headed back to the pit area. Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine. Everyone thought that maybe we'd hurt a rod or something. What happened, the chute didn't come out down there in the car. The track's a little rough on the other end. The car got to bouncing real bad. And we had one of the our old oil pans on it, didn't have a patch, and we just kind of have a split here on the seam. But other than that, everything's fine.
So it ran 575 and didn't hurt a thing?
No, it didn't hurt anything. In fact, we think we can come back and run that good, maybe a little bit better.
Well, you're going to have to, because Frank Hawley was the second quickest car in that first round.
Yeah, well, when we went into this thing, we knew we didn't have lane choice first round. We were running the quickest car of the whole deal, and we're the quickest car of the event because he had run a 69. The best we'd have run was a 92. We knew the car ran pretty well yesterday. It broke a rocker arm. However, we did break another rocker arm on that 75 run, so we know we got a little bit left.
All the work is over, and it is now up to both drivers. Raymond Beadle in the Blue Max, Frank Hawley in the Chi-Town Hustler. The concentration level extremely high at this point. These drivers thinking about one thing only, getting a good start, getting the car off the starting line and down that racetrack as quick as possible. Raymond Beadle losing traction right off the start for Frank Hawley. Another great run. He crosses the finish line, and look at the elapsed time. 5.81 seconds. That consistency that you strive for is there. The happy crew reflecting the joy of the Chi-Town Hustler folks as they're in the finals. Look over in the far lane, the blue car. Raymond Beadle loses traction instantly off the starting line. Already, the crew for the Chi-Town Hustler is reacting as Frank Hawley heads to the finish line.
For the second time in 3 years, Frank Hawley goes into the final round of the Big Bud Shootout, 581.
Well, that's our game plan, isn't it? 82, 81. I think that can do it. Might be an interesting story here if Kenny Bernstein wins this round, and you'll have your two previous winners in the final round.
Did you have to drive with a soft touch there, Frank, or hammer down?
No, I mean, we've been softening the car up a little bit like I guess you should rather than rely on the driver. We just floored it. It rattled somewhat, shifted the car, and sailed across the finish line.
Let's go back to the starting line and see if indeed Kenny Bernstein will be your final round opponent.
Steve, back at the line, it's Tom McEwen that will be trying to prevent Kenny Bernstein from becoming the first ever two-time Big Bud Shootout champion. But McEwen's got to be thinking about one thing. He has the lane choice. He took the far lane, but he watched Raymond Beadle, the quickest car in competition today, go up in smoke right in front of him. Bernstein, on the other hand, watched Frank Hawley lay down a picture-perfect 5.81 second elapsed time. Tom McEwen in the far lane, the defending champion, Kenny Bernstein in the near lane, the winner to face Frank Hawley. A great start for both cars. It is McEwen beginning to pull ahead at the finish line by a car length. Tom McEwen wins the race and goes into the Big Bud Shootout finals against Frank Hawley. 5.84 seconds. The lane choice in the final will be Frank Hawley's, but this race going to Tom McEwen. This is an exact opposite of the race you just saw between Frank Hawley and Raymond Beadle. Tom McEwen not bothered at all about loss of traction. His main concern was getting to the finish line ahead of the defending champion Kenny Bernstein. For the longtime veteran McEwen, a big win.
Dave, another round in the Big Bud Shootout where neither driver was sure if he'd won or lost. Tom McEwen, you won, you're in the final.
Thank you. You know what the time was?
584.
584. Not bad.
Not bad at all, and you're looking sharp on the starting line.
Oh, man. Yeah, I left pretty good, I thought, that time. Well, you know, it's funny what money will do for guys.
Nice carrot out there, huh?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, Tom McEwen and Frank Hawley.
The final set for the Big Bud Shootout, it is McEwen against Hawley, with Frank Hawley having lane choice. The final of the Big Bud Shootout. $25,000 riding on this single race between two cars. In the near lane, it is Frank Hawley. He won this race 2 years ago. Tom McEwen in the far lane. The man that has been around the sport for over 2 decades, running better this year than ever before. Working his way into the finals from the number 8 qualifying position, just barely making the program. In fact, he was tied with Ed the Ace McCulloch for the number 8 spot, but by virtue of earning his points earlier, it was McEwen into the 8-car field rather than McCulloch. All the work is completed, all the effort of the crew finished. Now it rides solely on the driver. And it's Frank Hawley up in smoke, and look at McEwen go! $25,000 to Tom McEwen, 5.82 seconds, your Big Bud champion, and 260 miles an hour. Mr. Consistency, Frank Hawley lost it all right here. The car losing traction, going up in smoke. He gives the win automatically to Tom McEwen. But on this run, McEwen thunders across that finish line at 260 miles an hour to become the Big Bud champion. And how important is a win like this? Just look at the disappointment on the face of Frank Hawley, the runner-up. Let's go to Steve with Tom McEwen.
Your crew did a marvelous job. At 260 mile an hour speeds, they are rarely seen.
Yeah, my crew is just great. I don't say about it. My help is good. My sponsors are great. You know, I'm driving pretty good for an old man this year. And, you know, what can I say? I'm real happy. And the course people, I'll tell you, I want to thank Budweiser for putting this race on and taking a chance that another beer company could rain on their parade. They're a class bunch. My hat's off to them. And, you know, you Budweiser people buy the beer, and hats off to you.
In funny car racing, it was record-setting time for the team of Candies and Hughes. Their driver, Mark Oswald, raced Rick Johnson in the first round. Oswald has established a new elapsed time record of 5.69 seconds in qualifying. In this race, Oswald in the near lane made the necessary 1% back up to the record time, thus putting him in the record book, but most importantly, giving him valuable bonus points in his quest for the closely contested World Championship title. Also in the first round of funny car racing, Tim Gross of Saugus, California, competed against the reigning world champion Frank Hawley of Canada. This was a reenactment of their meeting in the finals of the 1982 Gator Nationals. In that race, Gross in the near lane had the misfortune of having his parachute come out early, giving an easy win to Hawley. This time, Gross, again in the near lane, hoped it would be different. Both cars staged. They then left the starting line together, but once again, fate stepped in. The parachute shook loose and deployed, slowing Gross and allowing Hawley to streak by just before the finish line.
That happened to you before, I think, 2 years ago at Gainesville against Hawley.
In the final round against Frank, right? My good friend, so I wish him all the luck in the world. I hope he wins this thing. And, you know, more often than not lately, every time I lose to somebody, it's when I lose first round, that's the guy that wins the race.
Well, you got a lot of spirit, my friend.
Well, we all try awful hard. That's all we can do, right? Thank you.
At the U.S. Nationals at Indianapolis Raceway Park, it is Mark Oswald driving the Candies and Hughes special with a new engine. They hurt the motor in the first round of racing. Now they have put in a brand new engine to race against the reigning world champion driving the Chi-Town Hustler. This is Frank Hawley. Hawley from London, Ontario, Canada, has won the World Championship for 2 consecutive years, but he is out of the hunt in the points chase this season. The man that is leading, though, is Mark Oswald. He picked up those valuable bonus points by establishing a new national record, and he is hot after that World Champion title. Mark Oswald, number 2 in the world last season, wants to wear the number 1. He is racing against the man that won that World Championship last year, Frank Hawley in the far lane. Oswald qualified number 1, Hawley number 5, but boy, this is a close race. Look at the finish, and it's Hawley by half a car length, and the upset. Very consistent, 5.79 seconds at over 256 miles an hour. Frank Hawley puts away the new national record holder. The point points leader and the man that qualified in the number 1 spot. Hawley, driving that Chi-Town Hustler, picked up a very slight lead off the start. He began to extend it and won the race.
Frank, 256 miles an hour, that's the fastest you've ever gone.
Well, generally we don't run it right to the last light, but when you're racing Mark, my goodness, I saw him about half track and he was in front, and their car always runs fast. Fell off a little bit, and I wasn't taking any chance. I drove it right out the back door, is what they say.
Even though you've won 2 world titles, this one's eluded you. You'd like it.
Oh, gosh, anybody that's ever drag raced would like to win Indy, the Nationals. All I ever do is I remember who was the world champion last year and who won Indy, and I want to win.
And he's on his way to the semis.
Steve, we'll find out in just a few moments how he does as the next pairing again. The relative newcomer against the cagey veteran. The man from Columbus, Ohio is Jim Head. His main claim to fame, he finished in the runner-up spot at the recent NHRA Cajun Nationals Championship down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Head pulling into the water box, totally unsponsored, running the car on his own, does a very brief and short burnout. He's 35 years old and is regarded by many as one of the rising stars of the sport. He's racing against one of the true stars. This is Ed the Ace McCulloch, driving the other all-star racing team entry of Larry Minor. A huge crowd on hand under threatening skies. Last night, a severe thunderstorm struck this sprawling Indianapolis Raceway Park facility. In fact, rain earlier this morning delayed the start of competition, but the track now dry and safe. Let's go down to Steve with Mark Oswald.
Boy, Mark, you hated to change engines, but it had to be done, huh?
Yeah, I guess it was a little rich. They said they saw a drop a cylinder. It was a good race, and mid-track I was actually a little ahead of him, and like he said, you know, our car's got a good top end, but not that time. It was just running on 7 cylinders.
Well, you worked hard and you ran very well, and congratulations on being the quickest driver of all time in this category.
Thank you.
Mark Oswald holds the national record. He is leading the points chase, but he is very disappointed at his loss in the second round of competition for this prestigious U.S. Nationals title. 2 drivers that are in the thick of the chase. Ed McCulloch in the near lane, Jim Head in the far lane. The burnouts are over. The staging procedure is almost completed, and it's a good start for both drivers. It is McCulloch with a slight lead, but Jim Head begins to come on, and at the finish line, a big upset. It is Jim Head from Columbus, Ohio. The man, the best finish thus far, only a runner-up spot, 5.92 seconds, but look at his speed, 255 miles an hour, and that's where he came around and defeated Ed McCulloch at the finish line. So 2 of the 3 all-star racing team entries of Larry Minor are out of competition. The only car remaining is the boss himself. Back at the starting line, we're into the burnout procedures as we have more funny cars. These 2,500 horsepower plus fiberglass creations are one of the crowd's favorites, and this is one of the best. Tom the Mongoose McEwen, hailing from Fountain Valley, California. McEwen is regarded by many as one of the premier drivers ever to sit behind the wheel of a championship drag racing car. He's driven them all, from a top fuel dragster to a funny car, you name it. For John Collins, a long and illustrious career for Collins. He calls Long Beach, California home. They're meeting here on the starting line at the U.S. Nationals, the most prestigious race of them all. It was in 1978 that Tom McEwen pulled off the upset of that year as he defeated Don Prudhomme in the finals of Funny Car. The Mongoose would love to repeat this year. John Collins trying to stop him, though. Can it be done? Let's see. Collins up in smoke, and it is McEwen just glued to the asphalt and through the finish line and almost losing control as the parachutes come out. John Collins coasts across the finish line. But for McEwen, a 5.85 seconds at 238 miles an hour. One of the surprise winners has been Jim Head.
I can tell you exactly how you won that. A big top-end charge at 255.
Well, I thought it was running pretty hard on the high end, and I went around him in the top of high gear, and I didn't see him anymore. I went across the finish line.
And that kind of speed doesn't really pay any money, but it tells you got a lot of power there that maybe you could work on the elapsed time with.
Well, my race car's been running a lot of speed all year. We run 260 already this year. We run over 258 about 4 or 5 times, and a lot of 255. So hopefully we'll get a little more ET out of it this race.
Yeah, it's going to take better than 590.
Is that what it ran, 590? It's a little slow.
Jim Head knowing he has to improve on his elapsed time performance, but he's already made it into the semifinals. We'll find out how he does in just a short while. Right now, we're down to the last 2 cars in this round of racing. Kenny Bernstein is in the near lane, and his fellow Texan doing the burnout in the far lane is Billy Meyer from Waco, Texas. It was 1 year ago that Kenny Bernstein had one of the greatest 3 weeks in championship drag racing. He won nearly $100,000, culminating that streak with a big win at the U.S. Nationals. His competition is a man that started driving funny cars at the tender age of 16, Billy Meyer. Meyer is lined up in his Mustang in the far lane, and the Ford tempo-bodied creation will be Bernstein in the near lane. Both cars highly competitive, and it is Bernstein off the mark first, smoking the tires is Meyer, and Bernstein with an easy go, runs over 249 miles an hour at 5.84 seconds. We're down to the semifinals in Funny Car Eliminator. Kenny Bernstein in their near lane, the defending champion against the reigning world champion, the Chi-Town Hustler, with Frank Hawley at the wheel. The burnout procedures are completed. All that's left is to light those 2 yellow bulbs at the top of the Christmas tree. The green light comes on, and Hawley, out of shape off the starting line, has to lift. And it is Kenny Bernstein for the 2nd year in a row into the finals of Funny Car Eliminator at the U.S. Nationals. Some engine problems, possibly. 5.74 seconds, a great time for Bernstein. His speed, 250 miles an hour. And what a disappointment this has to be for Frank Hawley as he goes out in the semifinals. The veteran Tom McEwen, the mongoose he's known as, is in the near lane. Here is the newcomer to funny car racing. He only started this season, Jim Head from Columbus, Ohio. Let's go to Steve.
2 years in a row you go to the finals. Last year you won it.
Well, you know, it's a long way there yet. One more run and a hard one. Holly and those guys are super. But we're glad to be there. We're glad to be there.
They apparently had some sort of problem on the starting line. I don't know if you could see it or not. A fuel leak or something?
No, I didn't know. Didn't have any idea. At that stage, you're not worrying too much about that.
In your own race.
You got your own problems to take care of, and don't worry about that. And we're just lucky today we ran through there. And, of course, now we ran good. That's good.
Kenny Bernstein taking dead aim on his 2nd Nationals title in a row. For Tom McEwen, it's been a long dry spell since 1978 when he won the Funny Car Championship. For Jim Head, I am sure he is thrilled just to be in the semis and earning the right to race Tom McEwen. The driver's concentrating on the start, and it is Head and McEwen. Something going wrong with Tom McEwen's car, and another major upset as the crew for Jim Head responds in joy. Another 5:90 elapsed time for Head, but good enough for the semifinal win to set up this race. Kenny Bernstein against Jim Head for the final in Funny Car Eliminator. Here's the first finals at Indy for this man, Jim Head. In the near lane, it is the defending champion, Kenny Bernstein. Bernstein has got to be the favorite based on performance. He ran 5.74 seconds in the semifinals. Jim Head seems to be stuck in those 590s, and he said earlier he's got to run better than that. Can he do it in the finals? He'll need everything to beat Bernstein. All eyes in this sprawling facility focused on these 2 funny cars. Over 5,000 horsepower leave the starting line, and up in smoke goes Bernstein, and Jim Head, with the upset of this race, has won the funny car title. For Jim Head, his first full year in funny car racing culminates with winning the most prestigious drag race of them all, the U.S. Nationals title. His crew absolutely overjoyed. There it is, another 5.96 seconds, but over 254 miles an hour. You see what happened right off the starting line. There's the smoke off the tires from Kenny Bernstein. He's lost traction, he's lost the race, and Jim Head takes the U.S. Nationals title in style. From another angle, you can see very graphically what happens. The car smoking the tires, losing traction, and Bernstein loses.
Jim Head makes his first national event victory, the biggest of them all, the U.S. Nationals. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Again in the 590s, consistency wins it for you. He went up in smoke.
Well, I had to lift. It was shaking hard and going towards the guardrail, but I'd already seen him go up in smoke, so I rather than hit the guardrail, I thought I'd just motor on down.
Just a marvelous win for you and your crew. Your first year really in funny car racing, coming out of Top Fuel. They say that's a very difficult transition to make. You've made it look easy.
Well, I think it is a very difficult transition. It's been good for me, though, because it made me very conservative having that motor in front of me.
When all the fire's behind you, you tend to take some chances you wouldn't take in this configuration.
Oh, no question about it. All last year I tried to run 540s with Gary Beck, and blew up a lot of stuff trying. This year, I don't care how fast they go, I'm not blowing up any motors.
Well, you're showing great composure here. Maybe it hasn't set in yet. You have won the U.S. National.
I can't believe it. I was already happy when I crossed the finish line.
Jim Head obviously overjoyed at his U.S. Nationals title.
Hello, I'm Paul Page, and we have a tremendous fight in the funny car ranks here today. It's a fight not only for the event, but for the world title, and it's going 3 different directions. Mark Oswald, the current points leader, he has the NHRA record in funny car. And then there, of course, is Billy Meyer. 2 Nationals victories this season. He can do it. And then Kenny Bernstein, the first man ever to go 260 miles an hour in a funny car. Any one of those men could take home the funny car world title, and none of them have ever done it before. Now, let's find out about this incredible, this frightening machine, the funny car. Here is Steve Evans.
Paul, this is the car to beat for the Funny Car World Championship. The beautiful red Firebird driven by Mark Oswald. Now, these 1,800-pound tube-frame missiles are required to maintain the essence of a production automobile. That's why the fiberglass Firebird body, and that's why the engine is in front of the driver as it is in your car or mine. Now, with a 3,000 horsepower supercharged nitro-burning engine in front of the driver, from his standpoint, these could be called Formula Scary. Oswald is protected as much as possible by an aluminum bulkhead called the firewall. And in that wall are 2 Lexan plastic windows. Should they light up red, he knows there's problems, and he activates the onboard fire extinguisher system, hoping to extinguish the blaze. And as we've seen before here on Sports World, these cars don't always come back to their pit area quite as pretty as they were when they left.
And talk about terrifying. This was in the qualifying. Billy Williams in the right lane, heading for the traps, and then suddenly, fire erupts around the car. Here it is from the forward angle. Now watch this machine. It first explodes with fire, and then suddenly the fiberglass begins to come apart. Now, thanks to NHRA safety, Williams is able to drive this machine to a stop, and he is uninjured. There the crew looks over the car, and Billy Williams talked with Steve Evans.
Well, the obvious first question, are you okay, Billy?
Yeah, I'm okay.
What on earth happened? I've never seen one like that.
I have no idea myself. It just seemed like it must have started to get lean because the car really started to run good down here. It felt like it really started to pick up, and then all of a sudden just boom.
And your first experience with the funny car so far certainly has not been a pleasant one.
Hasn't been great. I like it, though. It's neat. I'll get used to it.
You'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back.
Fire off in the fate of the funny car. We're ready now. Second round of eliminations. There is Sherm Gunn. Now he will face 4-time world champion Don Prudhomme.
First order of business is the crowd-pleasing burnouts. But they're more than just showbiz. The idea for Don Prudhomme here is to lay down some hot, sticky tracks of rubber, back up in them for maximum traction. Don Prudhomme, as you said, Paul, the 4-time world champion, still based in Granada Hills, California, has had less than a perfect season this year.
He faces Sherm Gunn from Azusa, California, who has never won a Nationals title, but in the first round turned out to be a giant killer against Kenny Bernstein in the near lane. Now look at Gunn as he nails it, gets the whole shot on Bernstein, and goes on to win.
Bernstein ran 0.06 of a second quicker and lost. There's nothing more humbling to a drag racer than being left on like that.
And Bernstein was totally defeated.
Well, those high hopes for a world championship, at least this year, have come to an end. For Kenny Bernstein, as Sherm Gunn gets there first, Kenny, what happened up there?
Oh, I don't know, Steve. He ran pretty good. I was a little late. I don't know what his ETs were.
He ran a 5.95. I believe you ran a little quicker.
Yeah, I was late. I saw him leave. Reactions weren't there, and it's one of those days.
Well, I know you're real down right now, and we'll let you get back to the pits and try to get a little happier. Kenny Bernstein is all done for this season.
Kenny Bernstein, Texas millionaire and restaurateur, takes losing very, very hard. Sherm Gunn is ready. He faces Don Prudhomme, who wins 75% of the time.
Well, Don Prudhomme has got to be wondering right now what he's dealing with. Prudhomme saw him get by Bernstein and knows that he better not be late at the starting line or Gunn will drill him just like he did Bernstein.
No question about it. Sherm Gunn is hot today. They move up to stage.
Sherm Gunn and Don Prudhomme leave dead even. Sherm Gunn gets near the center line. Prudhomme shuts it off. It is Sherm Gunn advancing yet another round.
Something goes away on Prudhomme's machine. It's Gunn with a 598, 224 miles an hour. Gunn continues his march forward here in the World Finals. So Sherm Gunn moves ahead. He's now knocked out Bernstein and Prudhomme. Back at the World Finals of drag racing as Rick Johnson prepares to face Ed McCullough. And here, Sherm Gunn is proving to be just a bit of a spoiler.
This is the classic case of local boy makes good. You could almost throw a rock and hit Sherm Gunn's race car shop. You've been building these cars long enough for other people. Finally, you get a chance to go beat some of your customers.
Finally do. We're having fun.
Kenny Bernstein first, now the Snake. Wow.
Well, we just take them as we can.
Of course, your driving is what beat Bernstein.
I think it was. We were out on him quite a bit, and I was watching him coming down through here. And he just couldn't pass me.
You're going to need more than 590s to continue through this field, though, unless you've got this kind of luck all day.
Well, maybe we got a little bit of luck on our side for a change.
Somebody once said I'd rather be lucky than good.
Really? Thank you.
Sherm Gunn, he's having fun. A new face on our Sports World drag racing coverage.
Two big names, Bernstein, Prudhomme, fall to Gunn. Now it's Rick Johnson and Ed McCullough.
Rick Johnson just recently took over the reins of this car owned by Roland Leon. This is only Rick's second national event. Now his competition is back after a 5-year layoff. That is Ed the Ace McCullough from Sanger, California, driving the Oldsmobile car owned by Larry Miner. McCullough had lane choice by virtue of running the quicker elapsed time in the previous round. And surprisingly, Paul, he takes that left-hand lane. Most drivers with lane choice take the near lane.
There's the Christmas tree. They come into the pre-stage condition. Now they're staged. One yellow light, and they're off. McCullough with a hole shot. Johnson on the charge, but it's Ed the Ace all the way across the line. 584, 236 miles an hour, but some very expensive-looking smoke coming out of that motor.
Indeed, Paul. Here in replay, in the far lane, we see McCullough. His car noticeably launches harder. Now, McCullough fell off of his blistering pace in the first round. That was a 5.70, so he slowed down 0.14 of a second, no doubt due to an awful lot of piston smoke right at the finish line.
As he comes across the line, there you see it. That's a great chunk of money pouring out into the air here at Pomona. And that brings up Billy Meyer, who still has a chance to take the World Championship away from Mark Oswald. He will face Dale Poldy.
And Dale Poldy is having a fine weekend, Paul. Ran a career best of 5.69 in this beautiful red car. Poldy has been a full-time professional drag racer since he was 17 years old. Only Meyer started younger at 16. Dale Poldy is willing to spend whatever hours and dollars it takes, Paul, to succeed as a professional funny car racer. Billy Meyer had an opportunity, along with Kenny Bernstein, to go into the wind tunnel for the first time with these cars. Meyer came out of that wind tunnel and won the very next race, so he learned a bunch.
Billy Meyer in the far lane has twice been runner-up in the World Championship fight. He would like to finish this day not as a bridesmaid once again. He can spoil the World Championship for Mark Oswald. But first, he has to get by Dale Poldy. They launch. It is Billy Meyer all the way. Meyer with a 573, 253 miles an hour.
And, Paul, Billy Meyer has been equating this day as if it was a football game. And he told me earlier, this is the long bomb. Everybody go long. So Billy Meyer had all the nitro and all the blower boost possible to get by Dale Poldy here.
And so Billy Meyer, with this victory, pours the pressure onto Mark Oswald. Let's go down to the far end. Steve is with Billy Meyer.
A 573 to a 579. Billy Meyer, that was the most interesting funny car race.
Yes, it was. I had a valve that I needed to get shut off down there, and I couldn't shut it off, and I almost hit the guardrail there, and it felt like it made a pretty good move. I was jamming on that stupid lever.
It got mighty close. And then what happened on the starting line? It looked like you overstaged?
Yeah, well, he had gone in stage, and I was trying to hurry up and get everything done. And when I blinked in, I just went too far in, and that's just part of the game, I guess.
Well, that'll rattle a lot of drivers. Instead, you had an advantage.
Yeah, it seemed to work. Now we just need to see what Oswald does, see if I can get the ball back here.
So Billy Meyer's Hail Mary pass worked this time. He steps up to a 573. Let's go back to the starting line and see how Mark Oswald is doing.
Well, Billy Meyer is smiling, but Mark Oswald is ready. As the engine is fired in the Candies and Hughes funny car, he is ready to go, and he is extremely popular here in Southern California. Some say he'll go not only for the World Championship, but a bit further.
And Mark has a chance to ice the world title right now, Paul. If he can win here and run over 258 miles an hour, he will back up his earlier speed record set in the first round. That'll do it for him. Mark Oswald from Cincinnati, Ohio, could be the world champion in the next few seconds.
Of course, he still has to get past Tom McEwen, who is the second man to travel at 260 miles an hour in a funny car. He is a big opponent to Oswald's chance at a world championship at this moment. Oswald's wife, Janie, stands just behind the line at their support truck, apprehension all over her face. It's not just this round, it's the world championship that hangs in the balance.
This is the 11th race of the year, Paul, and it's all come down possibly to this run. Remember, that record could be set right now. Tom McEwen, after 20 years of racing, has never been tougher than he is this year. Janie Oswald looks on.
McEwen jumps off the line, but then gives up. Oswald pours on the power and screams through the finish with a 593, 252 miles an hour.
Tears of joy from Janie Oswald, but the title is still not put away. He did not run fast enough to back up that record we talked about, so the $40,000 still eludes Mark Oswald. Paul, as we look at this again, I think you'll see in the far lane that the front wheels come up in the air on Tom McEwen's car. When he gets off the pedal a little bit to set him down, the rear tires unload and lose traction.
Mark Oswald is one step closer to a world championship. Let's go down to the far end and Steve.
Well, unexhausted Mark Oswald with the helmet off. You got the win light, but unfortunately not the record, Mark. 252 was not enough.
Yeah, I think that win will do it for us, so I just want to keep in there.
Well, it's going to take a better mathematician than me to figure out the points. Maybe Paul can tell us more about that later. But Billy Meyer's alive also, and he stepped up to a 573. You slowed down.
Yeah, he ran good. Our car was loose all over the racetrack. We were happy to get down there and make that win, just to stay in there.
The suspense is maddening, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that does it mathematically, though.
Okay, we'll check on that. Right, Paul?
Steve, adding to the apprehension down there is the fact that the point system is a maze, but it appears that Oswald still has to go one more round if he is to win the world championship. Back at the World Finals in Pomona, California, Mark Oswald begins replacing all 8 of his pistons in his machine as they feverishly work on his dragster. Let's go to Steve in McCullough's pit.
Ed McCullough and crew have installed an entire new power plant in that funny car, getting ready to race Mark Oswald. This is the engine that came out of the car, and here's why. There's a crack here in the valley area. Now, this is just over the camshaft, in fact, over a cam bearing. Were this piece to fall out, it would be instant disaster. The lifter bores are going to come apart, the camshaft is liable to break, and what would happen is similar to what you saw at the top of the show. You remember the Billy Williams incident, the incredible blower explosion? That's what could have resulted had they run this engine. Some alert eyes found this, and by the way, this block cannot be repaired. That is $7,500 right down the drain.
Semifinal round. Funny cars at the World Finals. This is the moment of truth for Mark Oswald. He can win it all right here. A world championship is within his grasp.
And his opponent, Ed McCullough, right now just hoping and praying that the engine change was made successfully. Paul, they love to tell you that all of these engines are alike, but usually it takes at least one run to tune up a new motor.
Well, there's plenty to worry about when you bring them to the line. For Oswald, it could be a world championship. McCullough comes out hard, but now it's Oswald as he screams toward the world championship, and he's done it. Mark Oswald wins the round, wins the world championship with a 579.
Well, I tell you, Paul, Ed McCullough gave him plenty of reason for concern because 100 feet out, McCullough was in front.
Watch Ed McCullough in the near lane as he gets the hole shot, powers his way off the line. But then it is Oswald all the rest of the way. Let's go to the far end and Steve Evans.
Let there be no doubt about it. The man taking off his shiny red helmet is the world champion, Mark Oswald, and you could be the event winner. You're going into the final round.
Yeah, well, we get greedy. We win one, we won it all.
How'd the car feel?
Felt real good that time, a lot better than before. Last round it was a little weak. We almost made a big mistake there, but luckily we got through that.
A big top speed might be enough to back up that record.
Yeah, I don't know. It should be close.
We'll check on that, and good luck to you in the final.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, Steve, he just missed it by the flicker of an eye, but nevertheless, he is the world champion. Still, though, with one round to go. Sherm Gunn, the giant killer, faces now another giant who is once again, for the third time, the bridesmaid. He's second in the world point standing, and I'm speaking, of course, of Billy Meyer.
And Billy Meyer has got to be wondering right now, Paul, what is a Sherm Gunn and why is he here in the semifinals? Here's a fellow that's only gone past the first round once in national competition. Look at Sherm Gunn and Billy Meyer. They are head to head.
Billy Meyer pulls the whole shot, but Sherm Gunn drives it right on through to the end, and Sherm Gunn comes up with yet another victory. He's knocked another big name down.
Sherm Gunn so alert on the starting line, but Billy Meyer was right with him. Sherm Gunn has that consistency. He doesn't overpower the racetrack. Here, they're looking over at each other, Paul. You know they can see the other car in their peripheral vision. Suddenly, Sherm is behind.
But he continues to lay down the power. It's still Meyer in front, but he picks up speed at the end, and Gunn wins it. Let's go to the shutdown area.
This has got to be the biggest upset the entire funny car season. Sherm Gunn goes into the final round against the new world champion Mark Oswald. How does it feel?
Great.
How many years have you been trying this?
God, about 20, I think.
Another overnight success.
Not an overnight success, but just perseverance.
Well, you know, unless this luck continues, and skill for that matter, but still, you're going to need more than 590s to beat that red car.
I know it, but we've done it so far. Consistency.
Anything you can do to try to whittle down that elapsed time?
Well, we're going to look at it. We're going to try.
We're ready now for the final round in Funny Car. Gunn, he's faced every challenge that he possibly can, and he has conquered. Oswald, on the other hand, has the World Championship completely wrapped up. He's coming into the round on a real high. It's going to be a terrific fight. Now, as they come into the staging lanes, engines fired, we're ready to go.
Mark Oswald has already earned $40,000 in bonus money by winning the World Championship. Another $20,000 could be his if he wins here in the final round. But Oswald has had to replace engines. We were in his pit earlier as he and their very professional, well-uniformed crew attacked this project, installing a new $25,000 motor. By contrast, in Sherm Gunn's pits, well, they got their work done early, and his 9-year-old son, Little Sherm, had a chance to clean up Daddy's car. Quite a contrast in styles, Paul, and in financial backing as well.
Sherm Gunn is riding on a high coming into this final round. He's never done it before. This would be his first time, and it seems like he's been trying forever. Mark Oswald, he has the world title wrapped up. He'd sure like to add the world finals to that title at this moment, but the engine is the unknown quantity in Oswald's car. They stage a fire on Oswald's car. Sherm Gunn continues to pour the power, and Sherm Gunn has done it. He's done it. His first Nationals victory. A 581/248.
The quickest Sherm Gunn has ever run in his life. Little Sherm headed back to the truck, and the deafening roar from the Southern California crowd.
Big day for father and son, but it was over right here. You see the fire light up on the engine. A loose line, who knows what, but the day was over there. Sherm Gunn continues to power on, and he wins the World Finals. Down at the shutdown area, they are happy. Let's go to Steve.
Sherm Gunn accomplished nothing today other than beating Kenny Bernstein, Billy Meyer, Don Prudhomme, and the new world champion. Sherman, a great moment. Congratulations.
I'm pleased. I'm really pleased. I don't know what exactly happened to him, but he faded, and I says, see ya.
And you did it in a car you built yourself, every nut and bolt.
Everything. Car's only 6 years old.
Oh, is that all? Just a youngster. Tell me about the race itself. You had to be a little nervous the first time in the final round.
No? Not really. I went to a lot of national events this year.
That helped, didn't it?
That really helped.
It's that seasoning it takes some time.
Yeah, I'm pleased.
The biggest upset I can remember in a long, long time happened here today at Pomona. Sherm Gunn, the winner of the World Finals.
So congratulations to Sherm Gunn. The happiest member of that crew just may be his son, Little Sherm, as NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association, has done again what they do so well. Another exciting afternoon. The World Finals before a record crowd here in Pomona. This is Paul Page with Steve Evans. So long from Southern California.